Adam Hancock is following developments for us from Singapore. Hi there, Adam. A number of countries outside of ASEAN member states are being represented in Jakarta, including, as we saw there, the US Vice President Kamala Harris. Tell us more about who else is in attendance outside of this association.
Yes, well, we've seen leaders from Korea, Japan, the United States, as we've been saying, China, and even Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, is also there as well. But really, the biggest story is actually about who is not at this ASEAN summit, because there's been a lot of attention on the fact that neither President Xi Jinping or President Joe Biden are appearing at the summit in Jakarta. And ASEAN actually released a statement this afternoon expressing their disappointment that President Biden was not able to attend. And bear in mind the fact that he's going to be in the region anyway. He's heading to the G20 in India and also going to Vietnam as well. So there's certainly been some upset that he hasn't been there. And I think Vice President Kamala Harris has really tried to push hard to reaffirm the United States' commitment to the region, given the absence of the president. But we've seen both today leaders from Washington and Beijing having the opportunity to sit down with leaders from Southeast Asia. It's a region that is very important to both sides. Both of them talked up their relationship with ASEAN leaders. And we also had the announcement today from Kamala Harris of a new US-ASEAN Center, which will be opened in Washington, really reaffirming the United States' commitment to the region. And of course, the backdrop to this is that ongoing US-China rivalry, and particularly in the Indo-Pacific region where a lot of this plays out. And there are a lot of concerns that any potential conflict could eventually play out, be it Taiwan or be it the South China Sea. So ASEAN countries very careful with their negotiations with Washington and Beijing. Some sway one way, some sway the other, while some are centered more in the middle, but both taking this opportunity to speak to the two world superpowers.
We also know that the international community has been looking to ASEAN to try and persuade Myanmar's military rulers to transition back to some sort of civilian rule since the army took over back in 2021. We saw an unusually blunt statement from Malaysia the other day saying that ASEAN leaders should take some strong action against Myanmar's leaders if they continue to dig in their heels and remain in power there. So this is clearly still a big issue for those leaders present in Jakarta.
Yeah, it's one of the major issues really that ASEAN leaders face. And you mentioned the criticism there from Malaysia. There has been plenty of criticism both from within ASEAN and outside at the slow progress to find any kind of peace deal really in Myanmar. Remember back in 2021 when the military junta took over the running of the country, they agreed a 5-point peace plan with ASEAN nations, but really there's been very little progress on that, and that has been a big criticism of ASEAN and their inability really to come to any kind of solution. Now, there has been some movement at this summit. It's been decided that Myanmar will not chair ASEAN in 2026. So they do it on a yearly rotational basis amongst members. They were due to go up in 2 years' time, but instead the Philippines will take charge for that year. And also military leaders in Myanmar, they are not permitted to attend ASEAN summits. And there was a statement actually put out by ASEAN members on the first evening of the summit, and it was a little bit more strongly worded than usual when it comes to the subject of Myanmar. But certainly some members, and Malaysia, as we have discussed, starting to grow impatient really at the lack of cohesion within ASEAN in coming to some kind of solution when it comes to Myanmar.
Okay, Adam Hancock, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for bringing us the latest there on the ASEAN summit in Indonesia.